I am Hildelies Balk of the National Library of the Netherlands, and I am the director of the Impact project, which we lead at the KB, but with a whole team, of course. And I'm going to talk to you about the challenges that we faced in Impact and the solutions we came up with, and of course, hoping to answer what everyone thinks. What have these people done in the past 4 years? Oh, no, it doesn't work at all. There. An overview of my presentation. I'll first go briefly into the challenges in digitization of historical full text. Richard has already very nicely given figures on this. I can only build on that. The impact objectives, our approach to reaching them, our achievements, and then I will go into the results. Are we really better, faster, and cheaper, as we claim? Now, the content that is there. In Europe, we have this shared vision of having, preferably within this decade, and I mean before 2020, all cultural heritage available in digital form. That is very ambitious, but let's have our ambitions high. As Richard has already shown, there are billions and billions of pages of historical pre-1900 text in libraries all over Europe. Users expect full text. They don't expect just images and metadata. That is not interesting for them. Not on the level of text, books, newspapers, magazines. They want text there that is fully digital to search, tag, and reuse. And in Impact, when we wrote the proposal for the project, we said text that is not digital is virtually invisible. So what is not found will probably, in the long run, not be read anymore. People will probably just not go to a library and just go through the catalogue like that. They will want full text. So what is this content? Here is an example. I have a couple there from the libraries in Impact from all over Europe, as I said. This is one, I think this is a Czech example. I hope no one will kill me when I say this. This might be an example from Poland, but I have just a couple of examples, and you see the material. You probably recognize it if you are a collection holder or researcher yourself. This is some examples of the material we have. And this is, worst case, what the full text looks like. This is from the Dutch project of online newspapers, and this is what we actually present to our users online. You see that there is no word correct in the rendering of full text. On top you see the image, and below you see the full text. You will notice that the title is correct, but that has been manually corrected, of course. And we, as many of the libraries probably do, we present this material with huge disclaimers saying we cannot guarantee that the text is correct. The OCR in this image, well, here it would say is up to 0% correct, but sometimes we say 60, 80, so that we take away the high expectations of the users. And I think it's very brave of us to just publish it, because I think it's better that it's there. Even one word found is better than no words found at all. So I think we should continue doing that. But it is, of course, not very satisfactory. Well, here are some of the challenges. They've been shown all over Europe in all our demo days already, and perhaps some of you have seen them, and perhaps many of you already know these challenges. These are the challenges presented in turning an image of an historical text into digital full text by the use of optical character recognition. There's pages like these. They are, due to humidity, they are distorted. The letters are not in a straight line anymore. Sometimes the ink is not fully filling the character. Then you have all kinds of forms of shining through from the other page. Sometimes the ink has just seeped through, or it just shines through because the page is so thin. Then there's this horribly difficult layout that an engine really cannot make any sense of. then there's this sort of, well, smearing of ink. Annotations in the text that, of course, curators will want to keep, and we will want to keep for posterity, but they mess up any results you would want. And then there are these fonts, these old-fashioned Gothic fonts that are very difficult to read. Just a few of the issues to OCR. And of course, there are the language challenges. This is but one example of the word world being written in so many different fashions. You see that below the text. That is Dutch. But of course, this goes for any language. You have all these inflections, orthographical variants, changes in grammar. If you would look for a word now, you would probably just not find it because it was written differently. That is also a big challenge to OCR. Now, Impact, the project Impact was funded to answer these challenges. We started in 2008. Impact is an acronym for Improving Access to Text. It is a large-scale integrating research project, a consortium of 26 partners, coordinated by the National Library of the Netherlands and co-funded by the European Commission in the FP7 ICT work program. Our objectives are to significantly, or were, I must almost say, because we have only 3 months, less than 3 months to end this project, to deliver, to significantly improve mass digitization of historical printed text by innovating OCR software and language technology, sharing expertise and building capacity across Europe, and providing facilities for future research and development. Now, our approach. Very important in the Impact project is that content holders, researchers, and industry work together to find solutions. So we work, everyone who is involved there is involved in the process. All solutions are based on real-life problems in digitization. And we tackle each step in the digitization workflow from scan to full text. The first step is preparation and scanning, and there we have guidelines, case studies written by all partners. So that concerns how you go from the original document to the best possible scan and how the whole digitization process could be carried out. All partners work on this. The next step after the image leaves the scanner is image enhancement, for instance, binarization, noise removal, geometrical defects correction. This is worked on in our project by our Greek partners of NCSR, our British partners of University of Salford, and ABI, who is really all over Europe, the standard or the state-of-the-art software provider for historic text. And this is an example of image enhancement. This is the removal of unnecessary borders. Then we have segmentation and document analysis, where you prepare the document really for the OCR. There is different partners again working on it. Again, it's Salford, NCSR, and ABI. The next step is then the OCR. That is, of course, the core of our effort. I just give it as a sort of binary image, but just not to prejudice anything there. So there we work with the 2 industrial partners, ABI FineReader, currently the standards, the state-of-the-art software for historic text, IBM Research Lab in Haifa, the document analysis group who work on an adaptive OCR, a novel approach, that is. Then, of course, dictionaries and a special interface to OCR engines were developed under the lead of LMU and ENL, so that is the University of Munich and the Dutch Institute for Lexicology in the Netherlands. And we have a number of experimental engines for OCR or to come in the place of OCR, developed by University of Salford, NCSR in Athens, and University of Innsbruck. Next step is post-correction. That's the final step. and enrichment. Here you see a picture of the concert application by IBM, used for post-correction. The University of Munich has developed a post-correction system with an error profiler in it. We have language resources to enrich the findings by 9 partners, so for 9 languages across Europe. And we have a document understanding platform developed by the University of Innsbruck. And then all these tools have to work together, of course, and for that we have an interoperability framework where the tools can work together and they can be tested with evaluation tools and metrics. The framework is being developed by a team from across the technical partners in the project under the very inspiring and never ceasing leadership of the KB in the form of our technical manager, Clemens Neudecker, who needs some special mention because he's always there and very good, I must say. Everything is tested with these evaluation tools and metrics against a representative set of test data with ground truth, currently stored and made accessible by the University of Salford. And these 2 things should also be the basis for further research and development. These are, in fact, a sort of hidden secret, crown jewels, what shall I call them, of the impact project. Then for a summary of our achievements, we have now on market an improved commercial OCR engine, the ABBY FineReader 10, dubbed the Impact FineReader. We have ready for testing in a productive environment, the adaptive OCR engine developed by IBM. Tools for OCR correction with volunteer involvement developed by IBM and the University of Munich. Ludwig Maximilians University, I should say. We have computer lexica for 9 languages. I'm now going to try to say all the languages by heart. So that would be Dutch, German, English, French, Czech, Slovene, Bulgarian, Polish, Spanish. It's very difficult. I always forget one, but it's not always Spanish. It's very hard. You try learning this by heart. So that is really an effort, as part of these partners only came to us less than 2 years ago. We have the digitization framework with evaluation tools and dataset ready for you. We have a knowledge bank with guidelines and learning resources online and building. We have a service for print space recognition by the University of Innsbruck, near ready to be coming to you as a web service. For future development, we have a couple of novel approaches to pre-processing OCR and post-correction. We can build new, or you can build new language resources with our tools for lexicon building. And our Center of Competence is, of course, an achievement that will be launched tomorrow, and that is to start on the 1st of January 2012. And an added value of the project I have found, and many people have found, and I really hope that we can continue that with all of you, with everyone who wants to join, is the unique network that the project forms, bringing together experts from different communities. And just one view of this, part of these nice people forming this project here. Now you want to know results, of course. I'll first go into better and faster. Now you must know that all tools have now been evaluated in different test scenarios on this impact data set that I talked of. And this data set is not nothing. It is, I think, now 700,000 images from the impact libraries, plus a set of, I think, 50,000 ground truth files that are very, very meticulous renderings of the original object in digital form. You will hear more about that shortly in the next session. And all individual tools have shown improvement on the state of the art. They have, well, I'll go into more testing later. I give you just some examples of results, but there is much more. But all results, you must remember, are just for one step in the workflow, the ones that I'm going to show you, and in very different scenarios, on very different test sets. Now, in the range of image enhancement, a couple of examples. Or, no, I think I have one. Image enhancement, so that's the first step after the document leaves the scanner. Page split. I just do one of the many tools that many approaches that have been developed there. It's really a big toolkit. In page split, it has been found, the page split has been detected on 3,000 images of the dataset, and it shows an improvement on the state of the art from 73% to 94%. It's just one instance. It's just because I want to show you some figures. I hope the tool developers will not kill me after this presentation because I've just leaned on their claims, I think. Then segmentation and document analysis. I just give you one example. Line segmentation. In a test, it has been found that on 27,000 text lines, there was an improvement on the state of the art on finding text lines from 19.9 to 98.8% in impact. Then OCR, the quality of ABI, Fine Reader, between Fine Reader 9, which was the standard OCR before we started, the state of the art, ABI has found an improvement of 25% better recognition of old fonts, and we will have a presentation of ABI on this later. The adaptive OCR of IBM on a small test set has halved the time or the processing level required after you produce the OCR. They have a figure for this they call the figure of merit, and I'm sure it will be presented later for you today or tomorrow. Then in post-correction, a couple of examples. Oh, I'm going back. The concert tool, faster. The concert increases correction speed up to 40% with volunteer involvement. The LMU error profiler has proved in certain scenarios to be up to 2.7% faster in post-correction than without using the error profiler. 2.7 times. Oh, times. Yes, of course, I meant times. Percent is nothing. Sorry. This should be erased. No, I meant times, of course. And then the languages. They have shown enormous improvement already, but we have so recently acquired all the relevant ground truth that we have only just started testing on this. But already for all languages, we show real good improvements there. So I can't give any definite figures. They vary a lot, but really, this is really, really promising. And cheaper. Have we become cheaper? Yes. The industry in impact, the industry partners, ABI has lowered their price for historic fonts, sometimes, in some cases, more than 10 times. And they have produced more flexible rates overall, talking to us libraries. Listening really to what we need. IBM is, of course, also an industry partner. They developed the OCR, the adaptive OCR in concert, and they have come up with flexible rates that they will discuss with partners. I cannot disclaim or disclose anything of that, but they have become pretty flexible there. The research tools in impact, or the research partners in impact, the key language resources are to be free. All tools, but I cannot speak for every dictionary yet, but the key ones will be free. All tools by the research partners are expected to be free for research and free or against low rates for non-commercial use. There will be individual licensing required. It will be subject to volume, kind of use and materials, support, etc. But you can expect that you will not be, well, now I don't know the English expression that we say, we won't take the skin of your nose, but that is of course Dutch. And the shirt off your back. It's a much more elegant way, I think, of saying it. The Dutch are a bit brutal, aren't they? And then, of course, there's our framework. The digitization framework will be free and open source. There's an open source wrapper that you can use to plug in other free tools. There's a lot of free OCR out there and open source. You can just plug it in and try it. We have fruitful contacts with new open source tool providers who there may be many who will be willing to also plug in their tools there and make them available. And an increasing number of impact tools that were not foreseen to be open source seem now to be on the way to being open source. I cannot promise anything there, but there's a very positive movement going on there in the projects. Now, these were the results, but what are actually the benefits for the digital library? I must remind you again that Impact is a research project. Any fitness for productive use of tools already exceeds expectations. In our contract with the European Commission for the project, we very cautiously took out any claims in that direction. But in the project, we found that it is much more interesting to end with real benefits and real use of the tools, and not only to indicate interesting novel approaches. So whatever is there already exceeds expectations of whatever is there to be used, and a lot of it is already. Now, a rough estimate of all the tests, I just gave you some examples, by the developers themselves on the impact dataset, already indicates consistent improvement of up to 20%. Don't hold me to that, but this is just my laywoman's view of looking through all the results that have been shown in the last half year. And I come up with this figure. For one, in some cases, it may be 2%, in some cases, maybe 20 or more, but I would say, or 50, but I would say, let's say an average of 20. What does this mean for the library objectives? We, as libraries, wanted better access and faster and cheaper production. And we will measure this, of course, by retrieval of words, time and money spent on digitization. In the first quarters of 2011, the libraries have carried out some in-house pilots with tools, but the focus was still on user feedback and implementation issues. For the last quarter of this year, and probably beyond that, we have planned pilots to measure all aspects, real in a production environment. But libraries always struggle with the fact that most of their production is in large-scale projects, is outsourced. So our first test in a productive environment with two productive tools already, the Abbey Fine Reader 10 and the Dutch Lexicon, was carried out by a service provider working with a lot of libraries, and that will be presented later by Klaus Gravenhorst of CCS. And I may already disclose that he found a 20% increase in word accuracy, that is in Levenstein distance, which is not the same as words found. But I asked Klaus deeper about this. How many words did you actually found more? And he came up with a very, very cautious estimate of 15% increase in word retrieval. Now, this is one first test on a real productive set. It's really the way it is done in a mass digitization workflow. And already we have a 15% word retrieval extra on top. It is not 50, it is probably, Klaus will talk about how it went from how much to how much, but the 15% increase doesn't sound much, but what does it mean? what does it mean for the benefits for the end user? The users of the libraries are the researchers in the humanities and the greater public. And what is their only interest? They want to find a word. I've been a researcher myself. I've done some research in the humanities online, on internet. And it was nearly impossible to base any conclusions on what you actually found. You could not say this or that person or this or that word was hardly in use in the 17th century, for instance, because you would just find only a tiny a part of the words, and you would know that. So their only interest is in words searched and found correctly. Now, these preliminary results of OCR on difficult material, 17th century newspapers, that indicates already a 15% of words found. Now, let's assume we have 1,000,000 words. It's not 1,000,000 pages. Sorry, let's erase that. This is 1,000,000 words, not 1,000,000 pages. This means 150,000 more words found of 1,000,000 words. And that is just the beginning, because on top of that, you would build post-correction, for which we also have tools. And there, you could go, we've seen, more efficiently, faster. You could go on post-correcting always until 100%. And we've made the time that you spend on this considerably shorter. So I would say this is a really nice result, just as a very preliminary result. And I would say you just wait until we finish the project and we present our end findings, let's say in the beginning or somewhere, let's say March, April of 2012. Look out for that announcement. And with that, I would give it a yes break and say enjoy what you're going to hear, all these results, and in this conference. And I would say enjoy now your coffee break. Thank you.